Hello, this is Jailer. This past week, as of writing this, I watched three movies. Technically four, actually, but the fourth one is for the next big long form video that I don't want to reveal yet, so three, being Moana 2 from 2024, as well as Evil Dead Burn and Passenger, with both of the latter being from this year of 2026. Quick heads up for spoilers for the first two films, but not Evil Dead Burn. Gonna cover them in the order of how I put them in the title, so let's begin with. Not to be confused with the 2016 thriller romance film starring Chris Pratt, Passenger is a horror film about a spirit that haunts a couple after they witness a car crash, and it was pretty mediocre, if even on the side of bad. Now, this is actually probably going to be the quickest review here because the flaws here aren't really anything that are deeply unique to the film in itself. More, that's just a generic 5 out of 10 horror film that would have been released in mid January like a decade ago because, fuck you, it's January. Really, Passenger's biggest flaw is that even in the rare times it tries something unique, it's either way too late in the film for us to actively care, or it's planted onto the sidelines as soon as it's introduced. For example, there are three rules introduced in the film that are so important and integral to the story that they even get their own dedicated poster with the rules as the primary content, only for it to turn out the characters already broke the rules 20 minutes into the movie, and we only learn about them after the fact almost an hour into this hour and a half movie. Wow, gee, who needs things like proper suspense or setup when you can just turn in exposition and decide to have your protagonist run around for 45 minutes for no reason? And it's not like a thing like learning the bus crash in Halloween 2018 or everything around the tape in The Ring, where you know things are gonna get where you know things are gonna get crazy and the main characters are fucked from the outset. You learn this alongside the main characters, again, with 30 minutes left in the movie. Or for another example, there's a quote unquote arc setup where initially at first the girlfriend decides to fully join along with her boyfriend on the van life, only to reveal about halfway through the film that she in fact just wants to go back to New York and that van life would be unsustainable for her and her finances. Which, okay, it's not a particularly unique conflict to take even for this type of movie, see The Strangers or Vacancy, but at the very least it's a unique angle to frame it in, especially with the rise of family vloggers and people who actually do make their content filming their day-to-day lives doing this, and how much that could be a detriment to your financial and mental health. Even with just these past couple years have exposed some of those types for the harm they do to their loved ones, especially in regards to isolation and financial abuse. It's a really interesting angle to actually take to it. Unfortunately, they proceed to just follow up the scene with another scare and then never mention the conflict again. It's lampshaded kinda at the end, but the arc is never actually solved in itself and there's really nothing to say or do with the conflict. Along with that, the passenger's powers just kind of make no sense in the slightest, especially in the fact that he loses in the end. There are several scenes throughout both Act 2 and 3 where he's shown to be capable of, among other things, capable of teleporting himself, capable of teleporting objects and people, capable of making you hallucinate, makes all the St. Christopher charms that have been harming him throughout the movie fly out of the main couple's vans like they don't matter, capable of making the main couple, I shit you not, presumably pass out for as long as it takes to go from a sunny morning to the middle of the night, and does not kill either of them in what is probably a 8+ hour time span. Look, I get making your villains stupid, so the heroes can win. But this guy's just a Mugen character. What are you doing? Just kill him. He gets defeated by being hit by their van, and he gets defeated by getting hit by their van when he's shown earlier in the movie to literally be capable of teleporting that same ass van entire blocks. What are you doing? Okay, I know I'm tweaking out here over what's really just an average B movie, but it's really sad because there is spots of promise here, namely the unique things I mentioned a few seconds ago. The director Andre Overdahl also did 2019's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which I really enjoyed back when I saw it to the point I bought all the original books, so I have to wonder what happened between then and now. Just a miss? Maybe, but even in the first 10 minutes slash opening stinger, it retains a lot of the promise and suspense from that film, and I just have to wonder what the hell happened in between, whether it was corporate micromanagement, a bad script, or overall losing his touch. 5 out of 10, but that's only ranking it on a curve of considering some of the really bad horror movies I've seen. 3 out of 10 if we're talking just as a movie in general.
Uh, that is fanfic.
History time, kiddos! During the 2020 Investors Day presentation, Disney announced Moana the series, a Disney Plus series meant to flesh out the world of Moana and give her, and probably Maui, more adventures, dated for 2023. Late 2023 comes by, corporate figures out, wait a minute, Moana made $1 billion, what the fuck are we doing making this a movie? And after a lot of searching and cutting, we got Moana 2 in theaters in November 2024. Honestly, out of all the movies I'm covering on this video, this might be the one I'll keep in mind to turn into a long form video, because I've only really given the SparkNotes version, and it's honestly such an insane story when you really look into it, especially when it comes to Maui. As for the movie itself, well, what do you think happens when you cut what probably would have been a multi-hour long show into a 90-minute movie? Though it tries its hardest to distance itself from its roots, once you take more than a second long look at anything in this movie, it becomes obvious. The animation is a lot more stilted and, dare I say, frozen compared to other Walt Disney animation films this decade. Every character that isn't Moana's sister gets completely screwed when it comes to their character development and arc, even Moana herself, and the world building and expansion arguably gets hit the worst by the compression. It adds a lot, expands see further than the first movie, but it's too busy making references to fanfic and tweeting it again to properly play around and examine these changes to the world and how they would affect these characters' stories. As for the music, I think this is actually the category where I'm going to go against the grain here. Lin-Manuel Miranda's absence is felt in terms of the quality of songs for sure, but I actually liked Can I Get a Chihu and Get Lost, though it's very much telling that the best song in the film was a reprise of We Know the Way at the end. Honestly, everything with the Gilf lady is actually pretty good for the 3 whole minutes she's on screen. I like that she kind of serves as the devil on Moana's shoulder while still guiding her in the right direction, both literally and metaphorically. And I'm definitely not saying that because older women are the greatest character archetype ever put on this green earth. Totally. 4 out of 10. Fuck, why am I not capable of landing that joke? In terms of actually recent theatrical releases, I saw Evil Dead Burn on preview Thursday, and oh man, did I love it. Was hyped for it ever since the first teaser video of the mere sound of a scene being filmed came out, and it completely surpassed all my expectations. Already up there for one of my top 10 of the year, if we're being entirely honest. While there are aspects that some people are going to view as the movie playing it entirely safe, namely in the blanche coloring, almost every single choice made across the film is either something I found great or resonated with. The opening, fantastic. The family dynamic, especially in relation to the main character and the Deadites, one of my favorite parts of the film, in that everything that happens is just so inevitable. Not only with the Deadites and what they're doing, but that this is just such a trashy, hateful family that hold nothing but malice and such rancid, hateful thoughts towards each other, to the point where the question of things boiling over is not a if, but a when and how. How much of it is pressure and the sweet whispers of the Deadites, and how much of it is that this family has held all these thoughts down, barely held them back, and the powder keg has now allowed everything to be laid out with no repercussions to it. Family dynamic here is just as important and detailed as all the bloody bits, and is such an active force in the main plot. It's a shame that I've only seen a review or two aside from mine that mentions it. And just when you thought you've hit a quiet scene, almost a pause, the movie slams you with a right hook, tells you this ain't gonna be an easy movie, and then breaks the pedal through the floor of how fast it picks up speed again all the way until the end. Even with that, every detail, every choice this film makes is so carefully crafted, so lovingly chosen that even when it crosses the line again and again and again and again, it never veers into being outright overly offensive. Are people not going to like it? Yeah, it's a heavy movie that's pretty open and transparent with the concepts that it brings to the table. That's just the nature of it. Hell, frankly, I'm surprised that something this artistically authentic is coming from Warner Bros. Of how many separate times they've micromanaged films into being absolutely nothing. But even when it steps over the line, it doesn't go gratuitous. It always just stops before being too much, at least in my eyes. In terms of flaws, there are major ones I want to point out, one being more major than the other. First, the major one is that when it comes to a lot of the first few action scenes, especially the first inciting incident after the opening, the editing is choppy at best. It's obvious a lot of it was cut for either rating purposes or just to make the scenes quicker and more disorienting, but at least in my opinion, it at least leads to what would be a lot of great action scenes becoming outright incomprehensible. God, I'm just nerding out about this thing, aren't I? Additionally, there are some aspects of the plot that just kind of come down to, oh yeah, this happened, just roll with it, especially as things begin to wrap up, but there's so minor that I only really notice them while actively looking. I'd say more, but this is honestly a movie I'd give a certified jailer recommendation, with a small caveat that I'd heavily recommend checking IMDb or Does the Dog Die first. Like I said, it's a heavy movie to the point that you'd want to know what you're getting into heading in, even if you're someone who doesn't really like spoilers. 9 out of